Well, we got everybody fed. Cowboy took the big bale with the tractor and let some of that outer layer fall off for the goats to clean up out here. The colt and the donkeys are over there. It's a cooler day today on the homestead. We've got a little breeze, but it doesn't seem to bother all the critters out here. The chickens are out free ranging, scratching around. Everybody's pretty happy. But it's a Sunday on the homestead, and it's just time to thank the good Lord above for all, and say an extra prayer for everyone. Just rest our bodies for the week ahead of whatever comes at us. Hope your day is going to be a good one. Well, I thought I'd step in my barn again just to get out of the wind. My nose is a little cold. My fingertips are getting a little cold from yesterday. It was so nice out yesterday. It's Montana, and today we've got a cold wind, little cooler temps, but it sounds like more nice weather ahead. So it's Sunday. We're going to just enjoy the day. We're going to recoup. We're going to rest and be thankful. I am glad for what I got done in the last few days. A lot of normal things, chores and whatnot around, but I got my greenhouse cleaned out and it's ready. I've got my seed starting soil ready. My seeds are ready. I've gotten my chicken coop cleaned out and strawed down again. And you know, the barn in here is not going to take me but maybe an hour or two at the most to finish, just kind of raking it out and cleaning up a couple certain areas in here that kind of got messed up from the donkeys standing in for a little while earlier on this fall. And so I feel really good about going into the spring here on the homestead. I'm going to turn you around and let you see Cowboy's out feeding the cows right now. That's the last of our little herd. And hopefully we still have at least a good month, 6 weeks before we have any baby calves. It's so handy to have a tractor on the homestead. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold this still and it's not working. It's so nice to have one that you can pick those big bales up and move it around and feed critters. There, maybe that helps. He likes to give them enough to last him, 2-3 days. And then he makes them really clean it up. And then he'll take a little bit more out in another 2-3 days. He doesn't give them the whole bale. So I guess I'm going to head back in, put another log on the fire. I'm going to fill another cup of coffee. I may even make me a latte. I have bought that little steamer frother off of Amazon and I'm loving it. I can make me a hot latte right here on the homestead when I want one, and so I think that's what's next on my list. This morning I did go to the freezer and I thawed out another caramel cinnamon roll, the last of what I had made several weeks ago and had individually wrapped and put in the freezer so that we would have them for Sunday morning coffee. And today we took out the last of them and had them with our hot coffee, and that was so good. So I definitely, maybe sometime this week again, need to make some more, get them wrapped up and frozen, and that is so handy for Cowboy and I. It's a big treat for the weekend for us to have a cup of coffee, because normally during the week we've been trying not to have breakfast. We'll make it till noon or 1 o'clock usually, and I know starting breakfast on a day is very important, and for a lot of you, younger folk, I totally agree. You need that energy. You need that protein. For Cowboy and I, we're in an age now that's harder for us. And so we've found that if we can make it till noon, we usually try to cut food off at 7 at night and then wait till somewhere between 11 and 1 o'clock whenever we get hungry. We've been listening to our bodies more, and we wait till the hunger pains kind of start kicking in, or I feel my blood sugar is going a little whacked out. So um, when you're not as active as you used to be, and at our age, it's just harder. We still get projects done, but it's just harder for us. So we've found that that really helps. So during the week, we try to be as good as possible. You know, most of the time we are. But then when weekend comes, we kind of try to splurge just a little bit and treat ourselves. And that's one thing, is having a homemade caramel cinnamon roll with pecans in the freezer, ready to pull out and warm up with a cup of coffee. So I think now I'm going to go in and enjoy the rest of the day. I've got some reading to do, some more notes to take off the internet, and probably have a little nap in there somewhere between. It's Sunday, right? Take care. God bless. And that's why there is never straw in the nest. Such a naughty girl. You're just looking for all that wheat that's left, aren't you? But I have to admit, the coop looks a lot cleaner today after yesterday. Cleaning it out. There we've got some sunshine and fresh water. I've let them back out again today. I think we've got an egg in here too. Cowboy's already brought in a couple. There's a little bit of bad stuff on it. And I want to bring to mention that when you get eggs like this, I still will just let that dry and brush it off and not wash these until I've kneaded them, because you're washing the bloom off. And this egg, fresh from my nest, will last weeks on my countertop if I do not wash the bloom off. So if you're wondering about water glassing your eggs with your pickling lime, I wouldn't use this egg, just for the fact that it's got a little bit of you-know-what on it. I try to find the eggs that look as clean as this all the way around and use those to water glass. Now the eggs that I've water glassed last fall, I'm really not going to need to use this winter, so I can eventually empty out my crock. But I had done several dozen in a crock just in case my chickens completely quit laying, if it was a severe winter and I needed eggs, even just for baking, if nothing else, or scrambling eggs. But the water glassing really is a good way to preserve your eggs in the winter. So late in the fall, late summer, when you think your chickens are going to start slowing up, I'd start collecting those eggs and be planning to water glass. And we'll do a video on that again soon. But that's just a thought to keep in mind. This egg will still sit on my cupboard now for weeks. Or it could. It won't, but it will. It could. They stay fresh as long as you do not wash that bloom off. If you wash the bloom off of these eggs, then you need to put them in cold storage, refrigerate them. Another thing, if you're going to hatch eggs, if you've got a rooster with your hens, you want to collect those eggs and not wash them. And I usually use the eggs that are, 5 days and under. I try to keep the freshest eggs and put those in either in an incubator or under a broody hen. So there's another little tip. If you've got baby chicks coming in the mail this spring, which I won't this year, if I get the right chance, I might get some baby turkeys, but baby chicks need a heat lamp, they need clean flooring, they need a feeder that they can not get in and scratch the food out, they need a water that they can't drown in. But there's lots of different ways to do your little brooder pen. Be creative, use what you've got. Just make sure that it's not too hot, that your heat lamp is not too hot, too low to the ground for the chicks to get too hot, or it's possible start a fire. You want to be safe there. You also want to keep an eye on their butts to make sure they don't get what they call pasty butt. If they get plugged up, you'll notice it. If they get a lot of their poop stuck to their back end, you definitely want to remove that. So you want to keep track of them. If they're... I've got chickens flying behind me. But baby chicks are a lot of fun. And I would just start with, if you've never done them before, start with 5 to 10 at the most, and you'll learn a lot just as you go. So there's just a little tip for you from the chicken coop today. But I'm headed to the house now. This is my old chicken coop. And when the door is open and the chickens are free range, these old girls that are used to being in this coop still like to come back to the old nests and lay their eggs. And so I guess I just as well clean the nesting boxes out, put some fresh straw in, and let them do that. I usually use this little shed now for baby chicks, baby ducks. This box here, we'll lay down flat and put wood chips and then tie the heat lamp up above them, and then they're closed in this shed where the cats can't get to them. And I usually raise my babies in here now. But this was my main chicken coop for years, like 35 years. And we need to replace the floor. You can see the hole right there, it's caved in. So it needs a little work, but it still does a purpose. And she evidently feels pretty safe in here. I had a roost over here. So I guess it's time to clean it out and let them use it a little bit. Oh, the heat feels good in here. This is our main heat. For those of you just joining our channel, this is our main heat all winter. We keep this old cook stove rocking, and it sometimes makes us open a window or a door because it can heat our whole house. I have used this wood cook stove for at least 36 years. It's been a good old stove. It needs to be wiped down again. Gets a little dusty, and yes, wood heat gets a little messy. If we leave our door on the oven open, then it lets out more heat. If I want to bake something, I'll leave it shut and let it build up temperature. Nothing feels better than wood heat. And we have the security of knowing we can cook and we can heat our home. We have backup propane for our heat. And it hardly ever comes on. We do not go through a 500 gallons of propane in a year and I have a kitchen range with propane. We will fill it like in July when the prices are cheaper, but it's always at least still got a quarter or more, 3/4, half almost of propane. We do not use much propane. Probably the most I use is when I'm canning. There. So now it's time for that hot latte.